Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining in, especially on a Saturday evening. I'm Afra Nias. I'm the president of the Rotaract Club Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, and we, together with the Rotaract Club of Cinnamon Garden, we take immense pride, immense pleasure, and we actually feel very happy to be able to host this event in this very special evening. Ladies and gentlemen, 1=8 was conceptualized a week before the World Organ Donation Day, which happened on the 13th of August. And we think that this particular project and this particular topic is something extremely important for us to explore, for us to navigate, and for us to be aware about, because awareness is the first step of action. Ladies and gentlemen, one organ donor can donate 8 life-saving organs and can donate tissues that can save potentially over 75 lives. It can give the opportunity for a little girl with a weak heart to become a mischievous fella that runs amok in their parents' lives. It can give the opportunity for a woman who is breathless, who has to be reliant on constant dialysis, to become a woman who says yes to the opportunities of life. It is a complicated decision. It is a difficult decision. It requires a lot of help and a lot of assistance when navigating. But one yes from one organ donor means that you say yes to multiple people out there to get a chance, a fair shot at living their best lives. So without any further ado, let's get into the evening. I'd like to invite Rotaract Abdul Basit, the president of the Rotaract Club of Cinnamon Gardens, to deliver the welcome address. Basit, over to you.
Thank you, Afra. Greetings. The idea is to not to live forever, but maybe to help another live long. On behalf of the Rotaract Club of Cinnamon Gardens and Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, I would like to warmly welcome everyone here this evening to 1=8, Sign to Restart. Awareness is the first step towards action. Take the first step in becoming someone's chance at life. So this evening, we have Dr. Chamila, Dr. Yasuni, and Dr. Giselle joining us this evening for the event. So I would like to thank the panel of speakers for joining us this evening, because it is very crucial that we do know about the organ donation program, because it is not that we always speak of. So with immense pleasure, I welcome the doctors on board for this session. And over to Afra.
Thank you, Basit. So like I said, we have quite a discussion planned for you guys. So I would not like to take a lot of time. So Dr. Chamila Pilimatalava, who is a consultant anesthetist and a key individual in the organ donation transplant program in Sri Lanka, I'd like to welcome you to take over the proceedings and help us with this extremely important topic. Over to you, madam.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, wonderful. Right. So good evening, everyone. And I would like to warmly welcome all of you this evening to the webinar on disease organ donation. I'm one of the founding members of the Organ Donation and Transplantation Foundation. And first of all, on behalf of all my fellow members of ODTF, I'd like to take this occasion to thank the Rotaract Club of Cinnamon Gardens and Faculty of Medicine of University of Colombo for organizing this and giving us this wonderful opportunity to shed light on a subject that desperately needs to be explored in our country. I would also like to thank all those who have logged on this evening to our online webinar, and in doing so are showing a keen interest in this subject. I hope that in the future, each and every one of you will become an ambassador for this cause and will promote organ donation in your own way. So the message is clear: organ donation saves lives, and 1=8. We are proud to say that 2 speakers today here with us are from our own team. In the past, they have tirelessly worked with passion in order to nurture the deceased organ donation program at Sri Javadhanpura General Hospital. Dr. Giselle Varnakula is the Senior Medical Officer attached to the Nephrology Unit. She is also currently the Transplant Coordinator for ODTF. And Dr. Yasuni Manikage is a Senior Medical Officer attached to the Surgical Transplant team. Both of them have two very interesting and informative talks lined up for you. After the main talks, I will briefly shed some light on what Organ Donation and Transplantation Foundation is all about. Finally, if there are any points you need more clarification on or any other questions you'd like to pose, I would like to kindly ask you to note them down and ask them at the end in the question and answer session, which will be conducted by a panel consisting of myself and my fellow co-founders of the organization, Dr. Chintana Galahitiyava, consultant nephrologist, and Dr. Niroshan Seneviratne, consultant urologist and transplant surgeon at Sri Javadhanpura General Hospital. Thank you. So without any further delay, let's get on to the talks, and over to you, Dr. Giselle.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your kind words. Good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here today. Before we begin talking about organ transplants, I would like to shed some light on the diseases that cause our organs to fail and thus necessitate a transplant. So let me begin by talking about one of these organs. Let me begin by talking about the kidneys. So here we see a picture of a normal kidney side by side with two deceased kidneys. You may see how smooth and shiny the normal kidney looks. So the kidney is a deceptively small organ. It's only about 10 centimeters across, and each of us have two of them, and they're located towards the back of our body. But though small, the kidney is a mighty organ. It is important in maintaining, among many other things, the amount of fluid that is in our body. All of us might have noticed when we drink too much water, we pass. The cells that we eat are kept in a good balance within our body. In addition, all the food that we eat, once digested, makes some products that need to be removed from our body. Again, the kidney has a part to play in this as well. In addition, all the medicines we take and certain toxic substances that people ingest, those too are removed with the help of the kidney. The kidney also makes sure that it secretes hormones that help with controlling our blood pressure. Some of these hormones make certain that we have healthy bones, and one hormone, erythropoietin, makes certain that we have adequate hemoglobin levels in our blood. So what happens when the kidney does not work as it should? So here we see a picture of one person with swelling around her eyes, and right next to it, a person with swelling in their ankles. So this is an example of what happens when the kidney does not work as it should, and the fluid or the water in our body is accumulated and ends up depositing in various parts of the body. What else can happen? Say you decide to take a nice, healthy meal of bananas, which are good for you. Bananas have a lot of potassium. Unfortunately, when the kidney doesn't work as it should, all this potassium gets accumulated and can go and attack the heart, and that's after a meal of bananas, of all things, can get a heart's necessary bone buildings. So when our kidneys don't work, our bones can become weak and we might end up with fractures. Again, when there isn't enough of the hormone that makes certain our blood levels are adequate, our patients might come to us and complain of feeling weak or tired. So what else can happen? As kidney disease progresses, in end stage or late kidney disease. Patients can also come to us and tell us that they have itching, that they cannot eat, they have no appetite, and they cannot sleep. So what causes kidney disease, you asked? You might be surprised to learn that diseases such as diabetes and hypertension, very common diseases that all of us know, these are common culprits in causing kidney disease. Apart from that, there are people who get frequent urine infections. They too can get kidney disease. And there are people who get urine blocks. For example, if they have stones, sometimes these people have cancers. And elderly men, as their prostate gets larger, that can cause blocks in the passage of urine. That too can cause kidney disease. Apart from that, it has been found that people who take a lot of painkillers and people who take native treatment, they too can come to us with kidney damage. In the news, you might have heard that Sri Lankans living and working in the agricultural sector were found to be afflicted with kidney disease, of which the cause is uncertain. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka is on the map, on the global map, because of which we have many patients. We have about 65,000 people with kidney disease, and of those, about 20,000 are people with kidney disease of uncertain origin. And more alarmingly, we have about 5,000 deaths from kidney disease-related causes every year. And of our patients who have late-stage kidney disease, we have roughly about 6,000 patients on a treatment modality known as hemodialysis. So how do we manage kidney disease? We might begin by asking our patients to change the food that they eat, and we can also give them medicines to control their symptoms and to control the complications that occur with kidney disease. But over time, as their kidneys fail to function, we might have to start on a treatment modality known as dialysis. So dialysis, in essence, is a way in which the blood is purified out of all the toxic substances using a filtration method. So we have a few methods in which this can be done. One is known as peritoneal dialysis. Here we use the patient's tummy as a filtration barrier, and in order to preserve and in order to cleanse their blood. Another option is known as hemodialysis, in which a machine does the work of the kidneys. So here we pump the patient's blood into the machine, where it takes out all the toxins, all the unclean substances, and takes out all the extra fluid as well, and pumps the clean blood into the patient's body. But unfortunately, hemodialysis is not a long-term solution for most of our patients. This is where a transplant comes in, where a healthy kidney is surgically implanted into a kidney patient's body, and this takes over the function of the normal kidney. So the kidney is not the only organ that can fail. The liver is another. You might know a common cause of liver disease that everyone knows: excessive alcohol intake. So with time, as liver disease progresses, the liver will fail. A treatment option for such patients is a transplant as well. The lung, again, is another organ that can fail. So COVID is rampant these days, and everyone knows it goes and attacks the lungs. So in patients with really bad lung disease due to COVID or some other cause, a lung transplant is an option. All of us must have heard or know of people with heart disease. Again, as our heart function deteriorates, a heart transplant can be an option as well. So let's go back to this slide. I want to show you a few of the patients here. So here you see two people. The person in the picture, he's an older gentleman. He's reading a newspaper. He doesn't seem unhappy. He's getting on with that. But look at the patient in the next one. He's a younger who is attached to a dialysis machine and unfortunately does not look very happy or healthy. This, unfortunately, is the reality of most of our patients. So what are the drawbacks or the consequences of living with organ failure? So these patients, as I might have mentioned before, are people who are very sick. They have symptoms from their disease. They have complications of their disease. So they spend a lot of time traveling to clinics to show their reports, to get their medicine. And then as their disease progresses, they might require hemodialysis. Now, hemodialysis itself is a costly procedure. Each session costs about 7,000 to 8,000 rupees, and a patient needs about 2 or 3 dialysis sessions each week, and each session lasts 4 hours. So this is a huge amount of time that patients spend gaining treatment and spending at clinics for their medications and for their treatment. So this is time that they cannot spend on their jobs, on their occupations. They cannot contribute to their household. And most of our patients, unfortunately, are people who are the sole breadwinners of their families. So the disease itself has a huge financial burden on these patients. And this affects the family as well. They are deprived of an income, maybe the main income for the family. In addition, most of these patients cannot come alone for their treatments or for their clinics. They're too weak, they need assistance. So the person who comes with them, again, gives up their time, gives up the time that they can spend on their job, or if they're younger, on their education. And this too has huge socioeconomic impacts. So what is the solution? This is the only thing we can do for these patients. Give them a healthy organ. And here we see a healthy kidney about to be transplanted into a patient. So to tell you more about how this can be done, I will hand over to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Giselle. Good evening. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
We do. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Dr. Yasuni Manikage. I'm a doctor working in the organ transplant unit of Sri Jayawardhanapura General Hospital. Today, I would like to make you feel a bit more comfortable about something that makes many of you uncomfortable. That's organ donation. Some of you might not have actually thought about organ donation, so let's talk about it. So how does it work? It all starts when someone's organs starts to fail. Chronic diseases of the kidney, the liver, heart, lung, pancreas are very, very common. So people are dying because of it. Most of these deaths could have been avoided by just a simple signature, just a signature. So what is the solution? Organ transplantation is the best way to cure them. Transplantation is one of the great medical advances of our time. So transplants are extremely successful these days, and majority of the recipients go on to live a happy, fully functional lives, just as they were before they got sick. It's a life-transforming endeavor. Almost all of you, I know, certainly know someone who has had a transplant or in need of one. So just a little bit of history about the transplant itself. So the first transplant in the world happened in 1869, a skin transplant that's more than 150 years ago. So this actually paved the path to one of the most phenomenal success stories of modern medicine, organ transplant. of kidneys, liver, pancreas, heart, and so on. But all in all, in order for you to have a transplant, you need a donor. So how does this work? So when a person's organ is failing, they're put in the transplant waiting list. So there's no telling how long the wait will actually take. In fact, most people actually don't receive an organ on time and they die. Mainly because the waiting list is very long and there are not enough donors available. As you can see in this graph that I put, this is actually recent data from the United States because we actually don't have a lot of data from Sri Lanka regarding this. Nearly 124,000 patients are in the waiting list for a transplant. But how many actually got a transplant? It's only 29,500 who have actually had a life-saving transplant. So in the US, the most developed country in the world, 20 people on the waiting list die every day, 20 every day. Imagine how many you could save if we were all donors. People on organ transplant lists are dying because not enough people are signing to be organ donors. This is why we are demanding action to stop these unnecessary deaths. As a doctor, it really breaks my heart that we cannot save lives of patients in organ failure and dying just right in front of us. So, who is an organ donor? It's a person who gives an organ or tissue to a person who needs a transplant to live. It could be a live donor or a deceased donor. So live donation is actually very well established in Sri Lanka. Sri Lankans by default is a very giving nation. We like dana. But the problem is that there's only a very few organs you can donate while you're alive. It's possible to donate one of your kidneys, part of your liver, a part of your lung, while you're still alive for someone in need, but then again, not most organs. So as you can see in the slide, this is actually a picture of a younger brother donating one of his kidneys, the red kidney is his, to his elder brother so that the elder brother gets a second chance in life. But can everyone find a live donor? Absolutely not. Sometimes you can't find a suitable donor, suitable matching organs, even from your family or loved ones. Just because you're from a certain blood type doesn't mean your organs will match another person. And you cannot donate some organs when you're alive, like your heart. So there's a lot of myths about organ donation, mainly driven by this fear and misinformation. So this is why conversation about donation is really important. So now I'm going to focus on deceased organ donation. So most of the organs for transplant comes from deceased donors, mainly from brain dead donors in Sri Lanka. So what happens here? Here's how this happens, right? I just want you to see this one slide where in Sri Lanka, in the year 2018, 3,590 people have died just from road traffic accidents. Nothing else, just road traffic accidents, right? So in reality, what we know is that when a person's heart stops, a patient dies. That's what we know, heart stop, patient dies. But you must not forget that there's another concept called brain death. It's a very special situation. So imagine a person comes to the hospital with a life-threatening brain injury, as from a stroke or like a road traffic accident like in the picture, or lack of oxygen. These patients are very ill, so they're managed in the ICU. Doctors and the other medical staff, they work really, really hard to save the patient's life, but sometimes nothing can be done. This is when there's complete, irreversible loss of brain function. So this patient at this point is considered clinically and legally dead. In such situations, Since the patient is actually connected to machines, the rest of the organs are kept viable. So you will see the ECG monitors working because of the machines keep pumping blood into the heart and other organs. You will see lungs expanding because the patient is ventilated. But the patient is brain dead. Patient cannot be revived back to live spontaneously. So in reality, what will happen is when the brain dies, within 24 to 48 hours, the rest of the organs also will stop functioning, even if they're connected to machines. So at this point, every minute counts. So this is when being a donor can make a time of loss a time of hope. A deceased donor can donate organs as well as tissues. So how many people can one person save? A single person can potentially save up to 8 lives through organ donation. 1 heart, 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, liver, and intestines. I know this is a bit of a morbid slide, but I just wanted you all to see the organs, how they look living like, even though they have been donated by a brain dead patient. You can actually even save up to 9 lives if you split the liver under ideal conditions. So what else can you donate? Tissue donation, such as corneas, bone, tendon, skin, heart valves, blood vessels. Up to 50 people's lives can be dramatically improved by just one donor. One donor can change 50 people's lives. So, if you're not an organ donor when you die, you're actually taking a lot of people with you when you're dying. Active donation brings this profound meaning to a donor's life because this acts immediately to change the recipient's life. And not just the recipient's life, you see a change in the family and the loved ones, surroundings of the recipient and the donor. The donor family, we have seen, often experience this sense of closure, knowing that the tragedy of death and deep loss that resulted actually in renewal of the life in many others. So this cycle of donation and transplantation, giving the gift of life, can continue by influencing others to register as organ donors. All it takes is a simple signature, just one signature, to give the most precious gift of all, the gift of life. So yes, we need to increase conversation about organ donation after brain death. Because if you don't understand this concept, you will not give consent for donation. There are a few myths and barriers we face when we have this conversation, but most of us actually genuinely want to help others, and especially the ones we love. So we want people to think about organ donation, learn more about it, and move towards a decision beforehand. It's important, it's really important that you talk to your family, your loved ones about what they think about donation, so that everyone's intentions are perfectly clear. So let's try to break a few myths here. Can everyone donate organs after death? No, sadly, no. You have to be, in a way, lucky enough to die in a hospital setup in an ICU and be pronounced brain dead. Only then can you donate organs. Imagine if you die at home or due to any other unnatural causes, sadly, you cannot donate organs. Another myth. The doctors will not save you if they know you're an organ donor. I must say, all medical staff are devoted to saving lives. Even under the most extreme circumstances, this is not just a job for them, it's a passion, it's a true calling. So all patients, regardless of their intention to be organ donors, will receive the same level quality of care. It's only after the patient is declared dead that the organ donation takes place. And this process is actually carried out by a separate team of health professionals, completely different from the doctors in the ICU. So are you old enough to donate? Well, you're not necessarily too old or too ill to donate. People in their 70s and 80s have donated life-saving organs. There's a small glitch in Sri Lanka, though. You need to be 21 years of age to donate, and we are really hoping that the laws will change soon. So what if you're ill? Even if you have a health problem or had one in the past, you still can register. The decision if your organ is suitable for transplantation is actually made by transplant doctors. It's done at the time of the donation, so an illness should not stop you from signing up to be a donor. And then there are a few more concerns that many people talk about. Some are not sure if their religions support organ donation. In fact, all major organized religions in the world support an individual's decision to be an organ donor. So yes, you can donate. The religion does not stop you. And then some actually worry about the operation, the surgery done to retrieve the organs during the donation. Would this disfigure the body, that they will not be able to have a funeral for their loved ones? So I can tell you from my personal experience that the donors are treated with utmost care, respect, and dignity. The operation that's performed is very, very compassionate, and it's not disfiguring. Even the surgery itself does not cause any kind of disfiguring, so an open casket funeral is certainly possible even after donation. So as the last bit of my talk on donation, I want to show you a chart. This is just kidney transplants in 2016. This is on a world stage. So when you compare Sri Lanka and even Asia, if you say, in the world stage, you can clearly see where we are lagging behind. In the columns, the green part of the kidney is kidneys from brain-dead donors, and the brown part is actually from live donors. Since this organ donation is widely accepted concept in the Western world, as you can see in America, Europe, even Australia, they have been able to do more transplants from brain-dead donors rather than from live donors. Whereas Sri Lanka and Asia, I mean, you can barely see the green part in the column because majority of the transplants have been from live donors. We have barely done any deceased donors in Sri Lanka. So this is where we are going wrong, and this is where we need to learn and change. So we have our work cut out for us. People are dying every day waiting in the transplant wait list because not enough people are signing up to be organ donors. So I urge all of you to thoughtfully consider the possibility of registering as an organ donor. It's really important that you discuss this with your family, your loved ones. So when the time should ever come, when the question arises, there's absolutely no doubt in everyone's mind what your intentions are. Even if you have a donor card, we would always ask for consent from your loved ones before proceeding for donation process. It would make it easier for you, your family, to make that decision at that grieving moment if they are aware that you wanted to be an organ donor and a tissue donor. So as youngsters, I know you're very passionate about environment and recycling. So all I ask is recycle yourself. Live on physically and spiritually in others. Thank you.
Madam, honestly, that was from the very beginning to the very end, it was a captivating experience, not just a lecture. Thank you for not only imparting knowledge, but inspiring knowledge. I'd like to now call upon Dr. Chamila to give us an introduction about the Organ Donation and Transplantation Foundation. Madam, over to you.
Thank you. Just give me a few seconds to share my screen. Can you all see it?
Yes, madam, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much, Yasuni and Giselle. Wonderful job and very informative. Both were very informative talks. And now that you all are aware of the importance of transplantation and also know that transplantation cannot happen without donors, I would like to say a few words about the Organ Donation and Transplantation Foundation, which we are all a part of. First of all, I'll brief you on a bit of history. So the very first transplantation at Sri Javadhanpura General Hospital, which was a live donor kidney transplantation, happened as far back as year 2000. So since then, we have carried out a total of 360 kidney transplants. As Giselle and Yasuni both mentioned earlier, there are so many people awaiting transplants in our country, and our main bottleneck has been the lack of organs. Lack of organs due to lack of organ donors. This is the exact reason 5 years back in 2016, we began performing disease organ donor transplantations at Sri Javadhanpura General Hospital. Up until today, we have performed a total of 40 such transplants. Just trying to, okay. Right. So these are you can see in the bar graph that there have been transplantations up to 2016 in green color, which were live donor transplantations, kidney transplantations, and from year 2016 we slowly started the deceased donor program, and now we have quite a bit of blue in our chart, showing that we are continuously doing the deceased donor program in Sri Javadhanpura General Hospital. So the only way to increase the number of deceased donations is to encourage more people to register as organ donors. But public will not register unless they are aware of the importance of organ donation, which is why talks like what Yasuni and Giselle gave are important, and important for people to understand the importance of becoming an organ donor. In the past 5 years, we have carried out many public awareness campaigns, from organ donor walk in 2017, which was a huge success, to a launch of the National Organ Donor Registry and issuing organ donor cards last year in 2020. Until this moment in time, we have registered over 3,000 such organ donors in our database. Last year, a group of us doctors got together to form the ODTF, or the Organ Donation and Transplantation Foundation, along with a trust fund and a group of prominent and distinguished trustees. We hope organizations such as yours, with a humanitarian cause, will hold hands with us to spread the word and register more individuals as organ donors in future. Any one of you could become an ambassador and make this one of your own projects and carry this forward. I hope at the end of this webinar, all of you will be convinced enough to register as an organ donor. Here is a sample of the registry, the database that we use to register you. Once you fill your registration form, donor cards such as these will be issued to you. And more information is available about registration, the registration process, and what organ donation is all about, and about ODTF on our website and Facebook page, which we'll be very happy to share with you through your representatives like AFRA. Thank you so much again for organizing this very informative webinar and participating in this and showing this interest, which is very nice when it's from our younger generation. And I'm very sure that you all will carry this forward and spread the word amongst your colleagues and help us get disease organ donation to become a big part of Sri Lankan culture. Thank you.
Very much, madam. Thank you, honestly, because I think I speak for all of us when we say that the kind of program that has been made here today, and I hope we will be making it available for all our participants and for the ones who are not here as well, because it was definitely a presentation that shows us that organ donation is not a tragedy. It's actually a beautiful light in the midst of another person's tragedy. So thank you very much, madam. Dr. Shamila, back, I think I will hand the proceedings over to you again, and we can initiate the question and answer session. Thank you.
Yes, so we can start the question and answer session, and there's a panel of three of us, the co-founding members of the ODTF, myself, Dr. Chintana Galahitiya, the consultant nephrologist at Sri Javadhanpura General Hospital, and Dr. Niroshan Seneviratne, urologist and a transplant surgeon at Javadhanpura Hospital. Thank you. We are happy to take any questions you have.
Hello. Shamla, I just want to know. So let's say we register for the organ donation. So can our family change that decision after our death? So is that possible?
That's a very good question. So just because you register as an organ donor, it has no legal basis. I tell you this because we have had situations where family has objected to donating organs, probably because of lack of knowledge. But I think each person who registers, it is your duty to tell your loved ones that you have registered as an organ donor, that in the unfortunate event of a death where you are able to donate your organs, that you would like them to carry out your wishes and have another talk with even your friends. So, when it comes to that point in time when the family finds it very difficult to make a decision, because it's going to be a very sudden decision, they will always remember what you have said and they will try to respect your wishes. I know this because we are one of the leads in cornea donation, and that is because when you register, you always tell your loved ones, Mama as dan denna kamathi, and they always, 99% of the time, if the conditions are appropriate, they always do respect your wishes. So coming back to your question, Adil, if for some reason, if your loved ones or your next of kin, the closest to you, comes and says, no, I would not allow this, I will not allow you to take organs from my loved one's body, we will respect that. We have to respect that, because after all, we do not want to get into a conflict, and we have to be compassionate. and we have to understand what they are going through. So this is not going to be a legal battle. If somebody, one of your loved ones says no, we respect that, but we do try to ask them the reason, and if they are not sure or convinced about organ donation, we can, have a little talk with them. But it's not going to be to, push them to a point, where we are going to say, no, you have to do it, or, force them to do anything. It has to be from where, with their consent, that we take organs from their loved ones. Does that answer your question?
Thank you for the clarification. Yes, thank you.
Adam, there are some questions on the chat box, so I'll just read it off. There's a question like this, like, who will be liable to bear the cost of the organ transplant? Will it be my family?
Right. So I will tell Dr. Niroshan to answer that question, because I've been talking a lot.
Hello, hi, I'm Dr. Niroshan. Can you hear me?
Audible, yes.
Yes, thank you, doctor.
Yeah, so basically, we are talking about two aspects. One is organ donation and other one is transplant, isn't it? So the whole idea here during this webinar is you to become a donor. So once the patient becomes brain dead, and if the family or the donor has already given consent for organ donation, there is no additional cost involved. Okay, so organ donation is fully free. However, if the organ goes, so there will be no charge for the family. But on the other hand, the person who will receive the organ, the transplant, depending on the hospital, there will be a charge. If it happens in a government hospital, all transplantation happens free. In Sri Javadanapura, we do at a nominal fee. So that there will be a charge. Have I answered that question?
Yes, sir, thank you. And there is one more question. There are a couple more questions, so I'll just read it off again. Can my family get in touch with the recipient of my organs?
So at the outset, the answer is basically no, because we do not want to get them interacted for many reasons. Because one thing is, once they know where the organs are going, there may be sometimes, from the donor family, there may be such patients may be poor, and they may want to get some monetary benefit from the recipients. So likewise, we generally do not like to divulge the information, but saying that after some time, the recipients will eventually find out who are the donor, and may sometimes link themselves to support the families and so on. But the outset, we do not encourage that.
Thank you, sir. I think that answers that question really well. And I'll just continue to read the questions off of the chat box. How secure is it? Because nowadays there are organ trafficking happening all around the world. So how secure is the process?
Well, it is very secure in the sense organ trafficking happens mainly because of no deceased donors. Because that's why the live donation, there is a lot of organ trafficking involved. But if you start the deceased donor program, there is no, the need for live donation goes down. So there is no organ trafficking, because at the end of the day, because as I told you, we do not tell the donor or the recipient family from where the organs came and so on. So they are totally unaware of this, and so it's pretty much safe.
Niroshan, Chintan here. Can I add something to what Dr. Niroshan said?
of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Probably what the question was given to us, thinking that these children might have thought that organ trafficking is taking organs from the deceased or dying people and selling it to other countries. But you know what, that is the superficial meaning of when you look at the organ trafficking seeds. But the actual scenario, what this underworld business is, that people, the donors, go from another country to another country and then sell their organs and come back. Right? Organ trafficking is not the retrieved organs are being sold to other countries. So in this scenario, it is very clearly should be understood that these organs cannot be, sold to be transferred to different countries. These are very much monitored thing in Sri Lanka. So there's a huge team involved. All government doctors are mainly handling this, and they are being allocated according to the there is a point-based system where the recipients are getting some points to get the organs, their merit list. Therefore, there are so many people monitor this. There are so many patients are looking at this, and the chance of these organs being sold and making money is zero in Sri Lanka. And there's nothing called organ trafficking involved in this deceased organ donation. Therefore, you don't have to be fear to donate your organs after your death.
Will me being an organ donor affect my hospital care in any way? I think they are meaning.
I think Dr. Yasuni touched on that, whether you would get anything but the optimal care in the hospital. So I'll say it again, just because you are an organ donor, most of the time we don't even know whether you're an organ donor or not when you come to the ICU. So as a intensivist, I'm telling you that most of the time when a patient is being treated in the ICU, we have no idea that they are an organ donor or not. And even if we knew, it has no implication on the type of or what kind of treatment they get. As clinicians, our only aim is to save your life. It doesn't matter where you come from, what religion. Life is the most important thing to us, and we would do our absolute utmost to save your life. And failing in which, when we don't know that you are brain dead, you are no more, then we extend that to saving somebody else's life. So first is save that person's life. If not, at least use those organs and save somebody else's life. That is basically what happens. So no, answer is no.
Shamil, I think we can accommodate 2 more questions before we wrap up. So one is there a legal enactment with regard to organ donations? Is there a legal enactment? Is that question?
Yes, for disease donation. Okay, I'll let Dr. Niroshan answer that.
Yes, there is. I mean, when somebody is pronounced brain dead in the ICU, that means the patient is no more. I think Yasuni already elaborated. Then what will happen is then the patients, all the machines will be disconnected, and the patient will sent to the mortuary for the family to take over. But in case during that period, if the family is willing to donate, we will always get the judicial medical officers, whether there are any medical legal aspects in which can arise because since we are taking organs out, we always get the JMO's backup, so that there is nothing involved in the cause of death pertaining to the brain death situation. So there is already legal coverage, and brain death is a legal death according to the Sri Lankan law, and that death confirmation comes by 2 senior doctors on 2 separate occasions, looking at series of cascades of tests, and everything is documented. So it happens in a more legislative way. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And the final question is, if I do not register to be an organ donor, can my family still make the decision for me to donate my organs if I die?
Yes, the answer is yes. Once, if you are pronounced brain dead, now last 40 odd so transplants from deceased donors in our hospital, which we have done, is that way. Once they become brain dead, we go and talk to the family and explain the situation, because your loved one has died. There is the only hope that the meritorial act that can be happen is to make somebody live from this person's organs rather than burying or cremating this body. That is the meritorial act you can give. So when we counsel the family members, what we find is, because of this grieving moment, they don't understand this concept. They take time. Sometimes the children are aware, but the father is diseased, brain dead. The mother is not willing to give the consent. So when the mother gives the consent, sometimes the rest of the organs viability have gone down. So we lose the time to take these organs. So that's why it's important for people to understand, and at the onset of brain death, to give their consent. So even if they are not a registered donor, if the family is agreed upon, then we can go ahead and get these organs and make 8 other people and 50 other people benefit.
I'll ask this one.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. So the task for the 40 odd transplants that happened, they were really not people who have been registered as organ donors. So because this whole registration process actually started properly last year. So almost all of those patients, the organs were donated and they became deceased donors only because the family wanted to do it. Because either they had heard about it on the news or on media, or because when we told them that their loved one is no more and there is a chance of making somebody else live, and if you are okay to do that, they gave the consent. So we have to respect the fact that a lot of people, even if they didn't know about it earlier, or if they were not registered at the point of pronouncing them brain dead, the family actually they take a little bit of time, but they do. A lot of people do come around and say, yes, we would like to donate, because like Yasuni said, dana is in our culture, isn't it? And a lot of people think it's a good way of sort of, getting a lot of merit after even death.
So doctor, what is the procedure? How can we register properly with all these information and things?
So registration, like I said in my talk, it is a form, registration form as an organ donor.
From any hospital, or is there a particular foundation that we can go and get it?
So it is at the moment done by the ODTF. We have collaborated with the Ministry of Health, and we have started this as a pilot project at Jayawardenepura Hospital, Sri Jayawardenepura General Hospital. And this is done by the ODTF, our organization. And what you would do is either log into our Facebook page or our website, and you can download the form and fill it and have an attesting witness and post it to us, or drop it off at the hospital, or even call us and tell us where you can maybe collect it and send it to us, and there with your address, and then we will register you and put you on the database and issue the card. The card can be picked up, or we could even post it to you. We have posted so many cards in the past, and that's how we have set about it. But certainly you can come and even pick it up once, you know, all these restrictions are over.
Thank you.
And just to add something, children, that considering the prevailing conditions in the country, now since that you had a webinar and, you know, your team must be, you know, eagerly waiting to get yourself registered, the best way I would suggest to Giselle and Yasuni is to share our ODTF email address and send them the e-form, electronic form of the registration, where you have to download it and fill it manually, and because you need to get 2 people to sign attesting your this willingness has to be proved by 2 other people. Therefore, it has to be downloaded and filled, and you can send it back to our email. So that that is the easiest and quickest way. Then we will go through it in our ODTF, and we will enter your data into the database, and the card will be prepared. And since it is coming as a group, then we know that it is coming from your group. Then it will be easier for us to, you know, get the cards done, and then one of you can come and take it from the office. I think that is the best way, isn't it, Niroshan and Chamila?
Yes, yes. Or you can. I mean, maybe Afra or one of you, one person can coordinate the whole thing from your end, and then we will get Yasuni and Giselle and Sajid to coordinate from our end, and then we will send it as a package. Or
Dr.
Yes.
Chamla, I think we will facilitate the process right after this. We will discuss a way by which we can organize that part. Yes, thank you, ma'am. So I think we will we'll wrap up. I think the question and answer session. Thank you very much for all our participants for the enthusiasm and asking those question and answer sessions. I hope most of your doubts were clarified, and if you all have anything, you all can always drop in a text to either from us, or you can drop in a text to Rotaract Club of Cinnamon Gardens, and we will help you and facilitate the process of you finding the answer. So I think we've gone a little above an hour. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I'd like to thank our panelists, Dr. Chamila, Dr. Yasuni, Dr. Giselle, for delivering this particular program, which is a bit daunting and a bit overwhelming to talk about, with such eloquence and with such elegance. And like I said before, like, thank you not for just imparting knowledge, but for inspiring that knowledge. And I'm sure like many of us would have gotten everything that we need to know to decide whether or not we say yes. It is a personal decision, but I think it's a choice that if you make, would, like I said, give a fair shot for people at life. And along with that, I'd like to thank Dr. Chintana and Dr. Niroshana for being involved in the question and answer session, and thank you for giving us such comprehensive answers, along with Dr. Chamila and Dr. Giselle. I'd like to thank Dr. Giselle and Dr. Chamila again for helping me, being in touch with us and coordinating this entire process. And obviously, sincerest gratitude goes to Rotaract Basit, who has been an absolute pleasure to work with, and Rotaract Mishka for being the person behind such creative posts and flyers. And of course, I'd like to thank my members, who are the support system as to why we are able to do anything. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating with us. And I hope you got something from this. And I hope you learned that, life is a gift. So let's pass it on. And with that, I'd like to say good night. And hopefully, we are not only remembered for the life we lived, but we are also remembered for the life we gave away. Thank you very much.